Today I'm going to show you how I made the flowers for the Snow Garden collection by Spellbinders. This is the Crocus and Ladybug die set, and it comes with the petals and leaves that I used, and then this small ladybug that I just colored red and black. But this is how I colored the flowers. I die cut the petals 3 times. There's 2, but I cut them 3 times. And I'm using Distress Oxide Villainous Potion. I'm also using a sticky mat by Scrapbookcom just to keep the die cuts from moving. You can see that I don't really have to worry. When I was doing it on glass, the die would keep moving and I kept getting my fingers dirty and I kept bending the petals, so I just think this is an easier way of doing it. I went and looked online to see some pictures of crocus, and I found that a lot of them have colors, dark colors, purple, blue, that seem to be darker at the tips than at the base, whereas most flowers that I color are the opposite, where there's more color at the base and then it goes lighter. So I'm going to color these on both sides because they're dimensional flowers. You're going to see a little bit of the back, so I just want to be sure that there's some color there. You don't even have to make it as dark if you don't want to, but some color I think is really important for the back. And I think because you can see here that the flowers aren't flat, and from the side you can still see that they're colored nicely. I think that's important. Next, I'm just going to give my flowers a little bit of dimension by using this tool, and it just has a little ball at the edge, and you just rub it on here, and I'll make the petals cup. Next, I cut with this die the stamen, and I'm just going to color them a little bit darker. I use a light yellow, but just near the tips I'm darkening them on both sides. I think in the instructions they just use these, they just used one, and I thought it looked better when I just cut this a bit and made them a little thinner, kind of like that. I know that some of the flowers that they make, that's what they suggest to do. This one wasn't that way, but I kind of liked the look a little bit thinner. And then you just use a little glue. To just roll it up like this. And then I let it dry and use the tweezers to hold the stamen together. It only takes a minute to do that. And then next I just put a little glue in the center. And I like a little bit of a fuller flower, so I used 3 sets of petals rather than just 2. I'm sure 2 are fine. Just like to cup it a little bit. Put a little bit of glue in the center. Then I just leave this to dry. I formed my flowers. I made 3 of them, and then I just used, this is mint tape from Scrapbookcom, and I just like the size of the circle in the middle, so I just put them in there to kind of keep the shape. So I know that there are tools that you can buy to shape the flowers, but I just used what I had. I used this set. It's one of my favorites. It's called the Fluted Classic Ovals by Spellbinders, and it cuts out this very pretty oval. You don't have to cut out the center. I used 3 dies to cut it. The fluted oval will just, it doesn't have a cutting edge. So you can actually just do this on a plain piece of paper if you just want to make an impression on there. But I actually wanted to cut the oval and make a frame. So I used the larger one, which cuts the outside, and then the next smaller one, which will cut the inside. So you end up with a frame. You do have this piece too. I was trying to decide if I should use it or not. And I also die cut the leaves from the set. And if you've ever seen crocus, they have these very spiky, thin leaves. And I just got them out of green scrap paper. So I have a few of them. I'm going to glue this oval onto this paper. It's a card, A2 size card. And then I just cut a piece of paper to go on top, a piece of cardstock. And I use this embossing folder. It's a 3D embossing folder of the month for April 2023. It's kind of cool. It looks like a patchwork quilt. And I just took my paper and put it here and kind of figured where I wanted it to be. I mean, you can use any part of this folder. That's what a nice thing about these large Spellbinder folders. You don't have to use the whole thing. Obviously the card would be gigantic, so you can lay it any way you want. I'm not sure if that one's available, but I'll put the information below if it is. I did die cut this twice, and I should tell you that when you're going to cut something more than once and you're using these kind of ovals, or actually any kind of nesting dies, there's a little bit of space you can see between the fluted portion and the actual cutting portion. So it's better to take some washi tape, line that up the way you want it so that it's even, because if you don't line it up and you want to lay 2 pieces or more on top of each other, they're not going to exactly match, because you might die cut one piece like this and one piece slightly like this, and then when you go to line them up later, they don't match, and you'll be able to see some of the layers underneath. This is just 2 layers, so I cut it twice. And then after that, my washi tape moved. And when I cut the 3rd one, it wasn't quite right. And rather than trying to figure out how to trim the inside and the outside so that it matched, I only did 2 layers. And I think that's fine. It still looks like a frame. I decided to put these small foam dots on here. And I think I'm gonna have, I'm probably gonna use some glue too, but I'm gonna have these flowers just in a corner, something like that. And then these leaves just coming out. I'll decide if I want to use this and make it look like a mirror, which could be kind of pretty, almost like a pond, or, whoops, or if I'm just gonna frame this. I'm kind of leaning toward putting this in here, but I'll see how it looks. I really have to do this off camera because I really need to pick these pieces up and see where I'm gluing them, and I won't be able to do it with it lying flat like this unless I put my head right over it. So you can see how my card came out. I did end up reinserting this piece of metallic cardstock in here. I think it looked kind of nice. It kind of reminds me of water, the way it's sitting there. And then I just had this sentiment on my desk. It's actually from BB's Snowflakes, the pop-up card. This was a piece that I had just sitting on my desk, and I just put in there, but I liked the way that it kind of had a wave in it. It made it look like it was moving a little bit, had some movement. So that looked good. The original one that I made is this box. I made the box out of an 8.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock, 2 pieces actually, and I cut the top and the bottom. It's very easy to make these boxes, and I'm sure you could find instructions. I will put instructions on my blog on how to make the box, but I didn't videotape it. And then I just had this extra sentiment that was on my desk. Again, I use this one. This one is from the set Envelope of Wonder, I think it's called, and it's just a piece that you can stick into the envelope, but it was sitting on my desk and I didn't use it, so I just stuck it in here because it kind of matched the flowers. This one I used copper metallic paper and colored my flowers both in the purple and pink, all the same. But I think that you could even buy a box, and if you wanted to just make one of these as a topper, that would be a nice thing. It would make a nice tag to hang. There's lots of things that you can do with it, but I really like the way it dresses up a box. I mean, I did cut the same embossed piece of paper. Well, I mean, I use the same embossing folder to emboss this piece of paper. And you can see this is, I think it's 4, yeah, this box is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And also the special little ladybug, that die comes in there and you just color it red. And I put a little shimmer on it and just stuck it right on here. So that's it. 2 projects, 1 die set, and lots of other ideas what you can do with this.